So before I get started, I'm going to talk about something, and I'm sorry for the language, but there's no better way to say this than what I just found out is it's fucked up. So I'm not going to get graphic or anything like that, but what I just found out yesterday. So for some of you that don't know, most of you here that I see, you know that I struggle with addiction and alcoholism and stuff like that. And in part of my testimony, I don't know how much I've told on this channel. I told it more in that Freethinker 0027 and Keith interview that I did. And I think I talked about it earlier on in my channel, so some of you are more new and you wouldn't know. But this has to do with like my faith and has to do with my problems with alcoholism. I mean, it's all connected. There's many factors. I'm not saying this is the sole reason. But when I was in fourth grade, my best friend at the time, we were really close, like annoyingly close in the sense that like always having to get our parents to drive us over to each other's house, even though I went over to his house because he had a pool and, a hot tub, and it was just different. And I liked going over there because he had an older brother that was like the closest thing that I had to an older brother. Like I pierced my left ear because of him, and I had a bowl cut because of him, and I wore my hat the way that he wore his hat, and I like looked up to him, and I just thought he was so cool. And so the story is in fourth grade that my best friend's older brother took his life. So I lost, and it's just not all about me, it's like the whole family, lost something that was very I can't imagine. Anyways, it's like I lost my best friend at that time too because he completely changed. Who wouldn't? But for the worse, for much worse. I hung out with him a little bit afterwards, and it was never the same. But anyways, when they had his funeral, they had it in a church, and that was when I like went to the funeral and I watched my best friend who I'd never seen cry, and he was the toughest kid that I knew, and he was a badass kind of a dude. Watched him just crying his eyes out, and I was just like, it ripped me apart. And I was in this church, and I was just like, whatever this church stuff is all about, I don't want anything to ever freaking do with it again. And I kind of swore off God, even though I didn't ever believe in God and stuff like that. And I'd hang out with him, and we started stealing cigarettes. This was before cigarettes were actually put behind the. It's crazy to say some of these stories because when I think back about it, it's like it's not that long ago, and it's like times have changed so much already. Like you feel like you're like an older crowd, I guess. So the cigarettes weren't put back behind the counter yet. They had like this spinning rack of cigarettes that included cartons of cigarettes and everything. So we'd wear like sweatpants where they had like the band at the bottom. And so it would hold stuff, and you could drop cartons of cigarettes down in your sweats, and as long as you walked a certain way and you weren't suspicious, you could hide them in your sweats. We'd go buy some like Tootsie Rolls, and then get out of there and like steal like tons of cigarettes and go up to his house and like smoke them up on the mountain and stuff like that. And we were smoking them up on the mountain, and there was this skull from like a cow sitting there, and he's like, "There's my brother's skull," and it was like I never knew what to say to that kind of stuff. And he started getting into trouble. He started, drinking before I did, and get in trouble with the law. But and then he had to move away, go to a school for a while that was like, for troubled youth. And then he came back, and he did manage to graduate with us. We played sports and stuff together. And sometimes it was good. Sometimes it was, not so good, like the partying and stuff like that. He had this thing where he would he would like black out, like go like dark and steal cars and shit, like crazy shit. Like what are you doing? Like he became like a liability to hang out with. And I'm just making sure we're all good here, but he became kind of a liability to hang out with. So it was tough because he was like, when he was good, he was sober, he was like a loyal guy, like cool and all that stuff. And then like over time, he just kept on doing this stuff. And the last time I hung out with him, like really hung out with him, just me and him, it was good, great the first night, even though we had like fake IDs. They were the fake IDs that I brought up to where when we were 17, we go up to Canada and drink because it said that we were 19. Anyways, he had a different fake ID, so like we could go to like this gas station that had like like an Arab person working there that didn't even speak English, that didn't give a shit, and would sell him beer. And so we went back to his place and we were drinking beer. And first night was great, lots of laughs. Like I felt like we were having the time of life, and it was like when we were kids. And then right after that, the next day he got really dark, and he wanted to go driving, and I was like, dude, no, I don't want to do that. But he wouldn't let me say no. It was like he was gonna kick my ass. He's much bigger than me, and it was just like, all right, I guess I'm doing whatever. We're gonna do whatever. Anyways, I ended up getting an MIP. That was part of like some of the stuff that I've gotten in trouble with. All the stuff that I've ever gotten in trouble with the law has to do with drinking. And so I got an MIP. He got DUI. Fast forward, I only hung out with him maybe a couple other times, just with other people showing up and yada yada. And like it was like hit and miss because he was just out of his mind. Too much to be around, unfortunately. And so I almost connected with him like about a year ago. So this is decades later. This is like 20 years later. I see him on LinkedIn, and I was going to reach out to him and see how it was going. I didn't. And then people started doxing me and using my LinkedIn, so I shut it down. And I was like, damn, that was the only way I had a connection with him. Yesterday, I found out. So this is the deep shit. I found out that on Father's Day at 8:35 in the morning, at gunpoint, he stole a car in Spokane, Washington. He hit, doing Brody's or whatever, he hit somebody on a motorcycle. They went to the hospital. He went to the state line, which is near like Idaho. He tried to carjack another car. I think there was 3 carjackings that happened. A guy came out of a gas station to help a woman that he was taking a car from, and he shot that man in the chest with 2 bullets and killed him dead from 20 feet. Got in the car, ran from the cops. Eventually, and they're crazy enough, like we grew up in this small ass town, like 2.5 hours north of Spokane, Washington. And about a block from where I worked at, in the Spokane Valley at the Starbucks that I worked at the longest time, that was probably the most pivotal in my life when I found Christ. And for the first time, I went up and down with God, but literally a block from where I had lived and worked for years, he hits a car while he's being chased by the cops, gets out with his gun, shoots at the cops, they gun him down dead. Bullet to the head, bullet to the neck. He is no longer with us. And then I found out that the guy that was in the hospital also, they said that he had like minor injuries, and they were like doing a give, send, go, or a GoFundMe for like, because he couldn't work. And they said it was like moderate injuries on the news. Well, that guy had cardiac arrest and ended up dying. So this guy that was my best friend when I was like really young fucking killed 2 people. And now he's dead. And that guy's life, at least early on, was so pivotal in like me, like, going to his brother's funeral, and his brother had committed suicide, and I didn't want anything to do with God for the longest time because of that shit. And then and then he lost his mind. So fuck him, like, that son of a bitch. So it's like what I come from, man. Like people that are fucked up. And there's like so many stories coming from like that small town area. And I did a video on my channel earlier on where I lost another one to ODing on drugs. I don't know if he did it on purpose or what, but he had everything going for him, man. Both these guys had everything going for them. This fucking world, man, it's fucked up. So whatever this Patrick Mockridge shit is and all this stuff, man, I don't give a shit anymore about that right now. Like, I can't stop. Like when somebody's talking shit on me or saying stupid shit, I have a hard time not saying something. Because this is what I come from. I come from these kinds of people where they push your buttons, you either push back or you're a bitch. So if people start beefing with me, I can't help it. But I'm trying. That's why I need like God so much, man. Like I need Jesus so much because like I am so like messed up. I'm filled with so much rage and anger and sadness. Because the people that are in charge of this world do not give a fuck about us. I'm fucking sick of it, man. That's why I do this. That's why I do this. I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this shit. Because all it does is bring more pain. More fights. And I appreciate you all being here. And so we'll see what happens. But man, like, what we're going to get into here, what I've done is this more recent podcast of the SixSeven Podcast of Chris Clutch.